Welcome everybody. Welcome another day about using ZBrush and jewelry. So my name is Nacho Riesco. Here I am again as all months talking about the application of ZBrush in the jewelry industry. Welcome to all of you who are watching this streaming live, and welcome to all of you who are going to see this streaming once recorded. So welcome to all of you. Let's start another session. So today I'm about to start a completely new design. So I'm not going to follow any previous assistant design I started a month ago or some weeks ago. So today I'm going to start a new one. I am before start using ZBrush to start directly sculpting or creating or designing. So let me check if everything is working fine here on my streaming. So it looks like everything is working fine. So if all of you during the streaming considers that the music is too loud or my voice is not, it doesn't sound good enough, so just let me know. I'm checking all of the platforms and go ahead with this. So for today, I have this design I made some weeks ago. Today, the idea for the streaming of today and the future streamings, I used to make one live each month, Thursday commonly, and today is going to be the first day about the new design that I already said before. So this is the design that I was creating before. I'm going to explain to you a little bit more about why I did this, or which is my inspiration for creating this kind of design. Of course, if we talk about jewelry, if all of you are jewelers, some jewelers are jewelry designers, so probably you know, of course, I'm sure you know that the Cartier Panthers are very famous. This is one of my favorite pieces of design from the jewelry industry. And also I love to sculpt and to create cats or big cats or apply to jewelry design. So this is the reason why I started thinking about create a new design based on a panther or on a feline or on this beautiful animal. So this is the idea that I have. This is going to be kind of pendant. Of course, it's roughly rough sketch. So it still needs to be developed. So I will, as usual, during my streamings, I am using ZBrush, but at the same time, when we are sculpting something, we are designing the product or the piece of jewelry. That means that we used to start from idea, from a sketch, or from a collection of different pictures. The interesting thing is how to translate what we have in mind into a jewelry piece. So considering different aspects as weight, wearability, design, values, and many different things. So this is the main sketch I did. So it's going to be a pendant. It's going to be a plaque like this. It's going to be flat. Here we're going to have the central image. So the central figure is going to be a panther. So the idea is to create this panther as a relief, as a, not a bas relief, a medium relief. Maybe it's not as a high relief. This is not going to be a very big piece. So we can say, I think I can say it's going to be around 30 millimeter high, not more, maybe 32 millimeter in total from top to bottom. I'm taking measurement with my caliper just for checking that the measurement that I have in mind has sense in the real life. So I'm not creating a huge piece or a very small piece. So I'm saying from top to bottom, from this point to the bottom to this point, we can consider it's going to be around between 30 and 35 millimeter. So as I said before, we're gonna create this panther. We're gonna sculpt this panther with as a relief. The idea is to create after I'm gonna explain to you later. So I'm gonna first let you know where my inspiration comes. The main idea comes from this illustration. by the artist William Santiago. It's I think he's a Brazilian artist. I love this panther, mainly the gesture or the pose of the panther, who is, we are watching the back of the panther and the panther is turning the head. And I have used this idea, you can see here, mainly for create the panther. It's not going to be, of course, exactly the same as we are designing. We are just creating something new. I don't like, or I don't used to copy existing things, so I just gather inspiration or information from another artist or from another ideas for nature or whatever. So in this case, I was the main inspiration comes from this illustration, and also by this artist, with a very well-known artist, is by Meyer Felten, where I love this this how simply the faces looks like, because we are not going to create a very realistic animal, so it's gonna be simplified. I'm gonna create strong curves on surfaces, on volumes, just for giving an idea that we are creating a panther, but we are not going to create an animal from an anatomical point of view completely perfect or completely real or realistic. Yes, and also comes more information from this artist, Nicolas Gaetano. I think it's another artist from, maybe, I think he's another, he is Brazilian as well. I don't know, but the idea behind, we can grab this kind of Art Deco style, where we can recognize the figure, we can recognize the animal, but we are gonna create a kind of stylized version of a panther instead of realistic animal. So these main three pictures, and as I was saying before, we're going to create I think for today we are going to start sculpting the base mesh, the base for the pendant, just for blocking the main shape, and start sculpting the panther. And the idea of the panther is going to be a very well known technique in jewelry. It is called Glyptic or Glyptic in French, where we can use a stone and we carve directly the stone, making animal, flowers, or organical forms. And here you can find some examples about what I was explaining before, the main inspiration which comes from Cartier, from the panthers that the brand Cartier was creating during its history. And this is a bracelet, and both panthers was carved in stone, also with this one and also with this one. They are not resin, they are not 3D printed, they was carved directly from a piece of stone. Of course, today we have different technologies. We need to convert this design into a real piece. We can use a 3D printer, of course, and we can create resins which has stone powder, and we can achieve very quite similar results and much more cheaper than the carving or making this completely by hand. Of course, if we talk about Cartier, we're talking a high jewelry brand. Of course, that each piece is very costly. Is a lot of money to try to buy one of the things. But today, to try to create a more affordable pieces, we can use the 3D printing technology with many different possibilities of way of creating or mimicking or try to achieve something similar. That idea behind this ancient technique called the Glyptic. And here you have more examples about Glyptic examples, not more panthers. Here you can see the idea behind this is going to be the mainly idea that I was explaining before, just for creating main shapes, main volumes, try to transmit the idea of the animal, but not paying too much attention about the anatomy, about the muscles, about the form, about the fur, of course, and more examples about glyptic works in jewelry. Also, I love this idea where we can combine metal with stone with a curved stone, and we can set the stones. This is where the idea comes to apply a collar, or a necklace here to the panther, and the panther here is gonna have here this kind of stripe. The idea is the panther is gonna hang. The chain of the pendant will go here. I don't know at this moment how I going to find the solution for this piece, but this is the idea from here, just for putting some stones on the collar. I don't know how to pronounce this piece well. Said the collar or collar, but you know what I mean. And let's see. The chat is working or not, because nobody is comment. Maybe I don't know if I have everything working fine on my restream. I don't know if the chat is working on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Let me check for 1 second if anybody is sending comments on Facebook. What's this? Looks like nobody is comment. Okay. Looks like maybe I don't. Okay, totally fine. Okay, but the commenters start coming. Okay, it looks like the restream is already working. Okay, totally fine, perfect. Which material is used for the back part of the panther? Means the blue on. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this part of the blue where I have this part blue webmaster. So the idea is to try to mimic or try to grab the idea of the Glyptic technique. Today we can, as I said before, we can change, instead of carving directly the piece in the stone, we can use the 3D printing. So with the files that we are going to create inside of ZBrush. And here we have another technique, is the blue part, when we have this kind of pattern with this kind of lines. And this is a very well another technique very commonly used in jewelry, mostly for watches, and is the guillotine technique, where here I have collected some of the images where we have a pattern on the background and we cover it normally with clear enamel. So we have this kind of finishing where we can see through the clear enamel. At the bottom we have the pattern. This technique is called, as I said before, guillotine. It's a French word. Here you have another example. It is beautiful because you can combine, for example, you can apply a tint or a color to the enamel, and instead of apply a clear enamel, you can mix it with different colors for getting this kind of color effects with different colors, and depending on the tint or with which kind of tint you mix the enamel, you are able to apply to create this kind of finishing. And I have found this pattern on the internet, and I'm going to use this kind of pattern to apply on my design. And this is going to be blue tinted enamel to achieve this kind of guillotine effect at the background. And here, you can see here that we can grab this idea from this picture. You can see like we are having this kind of strands of grass or whatever, but I'm gonna use something similar here with another piece of metal, just for creating different levels. So on top, this is going to be the higher point, the grass. The second point is going to be the back of the panther, the head. At the bottom is going to be the guillotine pattern. So combining the different ideas, and the main idea, the panther, different techniques, the Glyptic technique, or and the Glyptic technique, we're gonna be able to create this kind of jewelry piece. This is going to be the side view. The side view is going to looks like a box with an opening work. So it's not going to be solid. So it's going to be hollow inside. And again, we are going to develop the whole idea during today and during my future streamings, still having a completely ready for production piece of jewelry, of course, making some cool renders as well. Here you have another example of a Glyptic technique with a curved panther stone applied on a pendant. So it looks very beautiful. So also, if any of you are interested on this kind of things, here I have found this link. YouTube video where you can find more information about this technique, where you can see how the different techniques used on this kind of Glyptic technique. But I don't know why. Maybe for my internet connection, the video is not working very well. So okay, during the streaming, this is to start working. I will show you, and of course, and also I will be able to share with you the link if any of you are interested on knowing more about this jewelry techniques. Okay, so let's start. And let's make this. You can ask any questions, or you can send your comments, questions, suggestions about what I'm doing, or about something you want to learn, or you want to know about me, whatever you need. So I will be here, happy to answer all of your comments and questions. Let's start with plain 3D. Let's drag it on the canvas. Let's make it no. I make it polymesh, but I want to start from the primitive plane. Why? Because if I turn my polyframe, remember that before you hit on the Make Polymesh 3D button, you can play with different settings before converting any object, any of the available 3D object you have here inside of ZBrush into an sculptable object. So you can go to initialize in this case. Let me find first. Let's frame. And you can see here you have two values, H divide and B divide. If I say, for example, 6 by 6, we can change the topology, and then it's going to be easier to achieve this kind of shape instead of starting from the default mesh or the default topology. New to jewelry, could you tell us full pipeline of jewelry production of Warble 3D modeler has? Yeah, okay, you can, I think today now it's a bit long to explain the whole pipeline. Maybe I recommend you are able to watch my previous streamings where I was sculpting many different jewelry pieces, rings, bracelets, pendants, and I was talking about that during the different streamings I was making here on the ZBrush Live channel. And but I'm gonna try to give you a short answer. Your production on what role 3D modeler has in all of that. Okay, the 3D modeler in my case, I prefer to call myself a digital sculptor instead of 3D modeler because I come from the traditional sculpting and the traditional drawing or painting. So ZBrush was my first 3D software. When I come from from 2D from as an illustrator or as a painter and I the best thing that I find with ZBrush is that I can start from something and you are able to create something from scratch just applying your knowledge about the sculpting. You don't know for the first time very high. You don't need very high knowledge about 3D modeling to or at least technical knowledge. You can grab a sphere and start pulling and pushing the mesh and start getting, or almost start getting what you have in mind. So it's difficult. For example, for a 3D modelers, you can be part of a production chain. Before you can find, for example, the designer. The designer, as I was explaining before, can give you different references and different ideas, as maybe your work is to translate the idea into the 3D world. So once you have the 3D object created based from the guidelines from your designer or for your brand designer or whatever you are working with, and from that you are able to send what you are creating inside of ZBrush to a 3D printer, so a CNC machine, and then at that point the manufacturing process starts when you start getting a physical object or what you was creating on the screen, and for that you can start casting, polishing, and so on. So very short answer, but I think you can find many information in the internet, mainly in YouTube, about 3D jewelry process. The jeweler, when making pendants, do you try to keep it under a specific? Yes, ground weight. Yes, the weight is very important when we talk about jewelry. Of course, depending on the kind of thing that you are creating, you can have more or less room for the weight, but the objective or the goal is always to try to make it as lighter as possible, to make it more comfortable to wear and to spend less money in material. So during the process, we are going to talk about weight. We're going to be checking about how heavy is the piece that we are creating. And of course, I can recommend you, as before, you can check all of my previous streaming where I was creating different kind of jewelry pieces. I was talking about all different methods of weighting uh, the design that you're creating. So what's the name that you use to keep the weight low? I'm trying to make my first piece in silver. That silver, the best thing about silver is very is not expensive metal, and you don't be so careful about the weight. Maybe you can be more careful about the weight in terms of wearability. So how comfortable the thing that you are creating is gonna fit in your fingers, so it's gonna be comfortable in your hand or in your chest if we are talking about a pendant, or on your jacket and we are talking about a brooch. But you have different techniques for. Today we have a problem with very well-known plugin. This plugin, let me check if it's work. If I make a polymesh, if I try to get this, so we are getting this because this is a very useful plugin, and we all of the ZBrush users who are using ZBrush for jewelry design, we were using this plugin many times, but today it doesn't work for any reason. Maybe for the coding of the plugin, it doesn't work today, but we can use it anymore. So what you can do when you are creating something inside of ZBrush, you can go to here. You have analyze, this button. You just select the measure, the units of measurement. You can see the subtool size is 2 by 2 by 2 millimeters, and here you have the volume and you have the surface area. So you can multiply this value for the density of your metal. I think if we talk about silver, you should, if I remember well, you should multiply this number by 0.05. So then you will get the weight in silver. So if you want to uh, uh, know the weight in another kind of metal, you should find the density of the specific metal that you are that you want to calculate the weight. You will find this button, analyze, select the subtool. Inside of the transform menu, you will find it here. So you can analyze any subtools. For example, if we grab another, we make it bigger. No, we can make this object bigger like this. So we can come back to transform, analyze, and now it's 8.03 millimeters by 8.63 by 8.63. Selecting the units of working, and here this is the volume of your piece. So multiplying this by, as I said before, 0.05, you will get the weight in silver. And the techniques to keep or to stay under a specific weight, the main technique is to control the thickness of all the thicknesses, the distances, how big the design that you are making, how big it is, and make things hollow inside. This piece is going to be completely hollow inside. So we are not, when we're talking about jewelry design, most of the time, and I can say 90% of the times, we are not talking about solid pieces, very heavy things. Well, depending on the kind of thing that we are making, some people likes heavy things, but we are talking about the cost of the metals, and I said before, how comfortable the thing that you're creating. So you don't need to make things too weight, too heavy. Some music. Conclusion math that will be very helpful come from somewhere where the button was allocated on I scroll left. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for being here watching the streaming of today. And if any of you want to follow my work here at the bottom, here you have a Linktree address where you will find of my social media, of my portfolio, my art station. So if I was saying before, if we already have this plain set, we can make a polymer 3D. And now let's make it bigger. As I was saying before, let's start as a starting measure about 30 millimeter high from top to bottom. We need to go to a scale master, set the scene scale. We need to tell to ZBrush in which units we're going to work. So we're going to work in millimeters. And now let's tell to ZBrush when I want to plane by 30. Let's keep this active, the R, because we want to change only one, changing only one axis. We're gonna change the other two according to the one we have changed. So this is a resizer tool, and now this is 30 by 30. Okay, 30 by 30 by 0 because this is still flat. It hasn't any thickness yet. But as a starting point, it's a good starting point because we're going to use this as a template. The second step that I'm going to take, I'm going to apply the reference image on the back for using as a reference. I don't want to match 100% exactly what I did on the sketch, but because during the designing process, on the sculpting process, we can change our mind and we can take another direction. If we prefer to make it longer or shorter, I don't know. But this is going to, as a starting point, it's a good reference. So let's go to draw, and to the front back, let's turn on my floor with the Z-axis. Open, let's make the grid size a little bit bigger. And in the front back section, map 1, let's click on import, and let me find the image. Here it is. So once we have the image attached to the floor, we can change the fill mode from 1 to 3. So we're going to be able to see through the geometry. And my personal settings are enhance factor to its maximum value and enhance opacity more or less here. And let's adjust image. If we click on adjust, we are going to be able to crop the image, crop top here. Let's crop the image because I don't need to use the whole image like this. Okay, and let's change the scale. Let's match more or less. We can change the vertical. Yeah, more or less like this. Let's squeeze it to match more or less the image. And I recommend you have the floor with the image attached with some settings that you have been changing. So I recommend you to save this. ZBrush will save this file as a CGR file. Just to don't have to be repeating the same process over and over again every time you launch and you start working. So you want to, for example, today we close ZBrush and tomorrow we'll start again. You just need to go to the draw section and click on open, and you are going to be able to load your grid with the image already attached with the right settings. Let's close this. And with this, I'm gonna use the C modeler. I'm gonna stay in the middle. Let's insert a point. This. And I'm going to remove this space bar. Let's make it this smaller. Space bar. Delete. One single polygon like this, and I'm going to delete this. Delete this bird I created before. No, it is not possible to delete this one. Maybe I can be possible to delete this. Delete an H. Okay, now it's okay. We only have one side. We can mirror and well to the other side, and in this axis, and we can use mirror and well with this. And we have something like looks like a template. Maybe we can make it more or less like this. Maybe with the x-axis we can grab this and we can, oops, now I have to remove this H that we have here, the lid point. Now it works. So this, and now it should work. So I can now move it to the left. And now if I grab this, return all my symmetry here, I can fix it here. And just to be sure that it's completely symmetrical and looks like it is okay. So maybe I can remove this H. Let's delete complete, and we can delete this one. This is going to be our starting base mesh. More questions. I love that you make questions, because makes the streaming more interactive, more fun. Is it going to be for render only? Yeah, for both, for rendering and for production. And always when I'm doing here on my streamings jewelry design, I'm always try to make them for production, for of course for rendering, because I enjoy a lot the rendering process. So I used to make at the end of the process many renders of the piece, but I consider during the designing and during the creation process, thicknesses, weights, and sizes of the stones, many different things that which is going to be very important on the production part of the process. So some of the things that I'm doing here, I'm sending for production, some of them not, but depending on the money. But I always try to make it for production. In terms of considering the measurements, the thicknesses, the distances, the weights, the carats of the stones, so that is the important thing about creating jewelry with ZBrush. How important the measurements are when you are creating a jewelry design. Harsh, sometimes the image grid is not in the center, so the symmetry is off with image in background. Do I have to adjust? Yeah, you need to adjust it in the settings. For example, you should, for example, do you want to avoid to change, for example, to avoid the manual changes, setting the horizontal offset or the vertical offset? I recommend to you, when you are creating an image that you are going to use with, you're going to attach it on a grid, open Photoshop and always make kind of square canvas and then put the image in Photoshop exactly in the middle. So once you attach the image to the grid will keep the quad proportions as the grid already has. So for example, in my case, my image is not completely, it hasn't quad proportions. So it's going to be necessary to push it to the right or push it to the left, top and bottom, till fix it exactly in the middle. But you want to avoid that. Import the image with the square proportions and center it in the middle, vertical and horizontally, and it's not going to be necessary to change the settings. But it doesn't take too much time to fixing things. Another thing that I like to do is the elevation of the floor. The floor I used to change from the default -1 value to 0. So I know, for example, if I turn on the other axis, so I know where is the middle of the design vertically and horizontally. So I need to know if I am above of the half or below the half. When you are designing something, the axes are going to be very useful to know where is exactly the middle of the piece, for example. And if you are designing a ring, it's going to be even more important of when to having the axis visible when you are creating a ring design. The thing that in 3D, yes, you are right. It is making manually. I think today with the, of course, you can use a CNC machine, so it's going to be quite similar than the manual way of working. But with a 3D printer, you have a good 3D printer. Of course, if you want to, for example, here the guillotine that we have here, it is not going to be very difficult because we talk about this kind of patterns, the lodge something. You have very tiny spaces between. For example, here we are watching something like this, right? So very tiny spaces between surface and on the cavities. Maybe with this we can have problems with the 3D printing. If we are having a very good, highly precise 3D printing, you're going to be able to create things like this. But in this kind of guillotine, this is not going to be here. We can have this kind of more open spaces. It's going to be beautiful enough because the pattern I think is very cool. But we can have success with the 3D printing. Also, another kind of tip that I can give you, instead of making this when you are making the extrusion, so when we are painting this, we are talking about the lines. This is one line, this is one line. Here we are talking about this, the raised surface. It's much better for having more something like this. So we're gonna try to achieve something like this instead of having this. So we are going to have more success with the 3D printing if you are having this kind of form or this kind of profile instead of this, in this case. How many? And of course, for example, here we are going to check if we are talking, because the idea that I have to now at the beginning of the process, I have said that here we have around 35 millimeter tall, around 35 millimeter tall. But this measurement is going to be linked with all of the measurements of the design. For example, if we want to make it this not so thick, because it's going to look like not very well, I'm going to compare with this proportion how small I can have these lines. So I'm going to try to keep it below half of a millimeter, or trying to don't make it bigger than half of a millimeter. If making these lines around half of a millimeter looks good enough, I can keep the 35 millimeter tall. Maybe it's going to be necessary to make it 37 maybe, or 36 millimeter tall, for having a thin enough line for making it beautiful enough on the guillotine. If not, it's going to be very not very well. I think you know what I'm saying. Here, what's necessary to learn and become a good 3D modeler? Well, depending on how much time you are able to put on your learning process, considering that the learning process is a never-ending process. So you are learning during your whole life. I think it's, in my opinion, I can give the advice and I can give you is to try to start with short objectives or of goals. So I want to create this. I want to learn this. I'm going to start from the beginning till the end. Start making different goals, different short goals, instead of talking about to start thinking about to learn everything. And maybe for that you can be specialized on specific things, and during your learning process you can start growing and growing during the years. One more thing, I decided on a pendant and wanted to 3D print it in 18 karat gold, but the machiner says it's not optimized. He told me to use Materialize Magic. Yeah, Materialize Magic is a very expensive software which it takes the mesh, the mesh, I don't know how to say it, the mesh continuity, the mesh optimization, and at the end of the process you should check all of your meshes inside of, I don't know if it is still available, but the program that I use for that, it is this one. It's Mesh Mixer. You can use the Mesh Mixer, NetFab, what is it? This one, this software, NetFab Basic. This is their software. This is a free software. But the basic is just for checking your mess, just for knowing that you are not going to have issues on the printing process. But as far as I know today, the printers or the printer softwares, they are not so picky than before. So of course you should have an optimized mesh for knowing that you are not going to have problem during the printing process, but I think it's not going to be very critical if you are not able to optimize your mesh. Or maybe when he is saying optimize your mesh, maybe the mesh that you are sending to your machiner or your supplier is very dense. It's too dense. I think the file weight is too high. Maybe you should use the Decimation Master that you can find inside of ZBrush. You should go to here, Decimation Master, and decimate your mesh. For example, you are not able to send a mesh with 1,000,000 of polygons to any 3D printer or a CNC machine or wherever. So the best solution is, before sending the file for production, you should decimate it. You can use the different settings that you have here. Or for example, you can start from 1,000,000 to 1/4 or less than 1/4 150K, 75K, 35K, and it is going to be friendlier for your supplier to handle that file, instead of sending it with a lot of detail, with a lot of polygons, with millions of polygons. We are able to work with millions of polygons inside of ZBrush. But when your file is ready and you're about to send your file for manufacturing, you can't send such amount of polygons to the next step. So you should decimate your mesh before sending it to your 3D printing supplier or to CNC machine supplier or whatever. Yeah, it's an Autodesk software. NetFab is, I think today, and I don't know if it is still free because I download and install this version many years ago. I don't know if it still exists, this NetFab Basic. I think this should be still free. This version, of course, and you have a software for, you need to pay for the highest version of the software, but for the basic, it should be still free. I think that's part. Today I don't know if it's still free or not. Let me check your comments. The software to fix the model for printing should be one solid. Yeah, one solid. Also, you can have. Remember that you can check this. This is the NetFab Basic. This is my version. NetFab. My version is NetFab Basic 7.4 version. This is the software that I use just for checking the mesh before sending for printing. And the Materialize Magic is a great software, but this is very, very expensive. And let me check, because, and don't forget that you have this inside of the geometry. You can go to mesh integrity and you can check your mesh inside of ZBrush. And ZBrush can find the different issues, and ZBrush is going to be able to fix them. We are talking about simple to fix problems, but it could be another extra step that you can take before send your file for printing. Just checking your mesh inside of ZBrush. Is there some mistake in geometry? You have to, yeah. But they should be a very big mistake or very big issues for having 3D printing problems. And I was saying before, today the printers handle better the problems with the meshes than before. The first things to say, as Chocobear says, the object should be solid. It can't be open or broken or whatever. But most of the time, the problems are fixing the normals, because maybe we have different normals and things like that. But simple things. Do you also hold? Yeah, I use Mesh Mixer for make things hollow inside. I prefer to use Mesh Mixer than ZBrush for make things hollow. I only use ZBrush and Mesh Mixer. Mesh Mixer only for make models hollow inside. Okay, yeah, maybe the model is too thin. It needs to be at least, it could be another problem, but in that case, it's not a problem of the mesh or the mesh consistency. Maybe the thing that you are sending for manufacturing, maybe it can be very thin or very small, or a part or a section of your model of your design is very thin. Depending on the kind of machine that they are going to use, for example, the minimum volume or the optimal volume, as you said, could be around 0.8 millimeter and 1 millimeter thick. But if we are talking about gold, maybe 1 millimeter is going to be too thick, probably. I don't know the design that we are talking about, because some of the 3D printers, mainly the wax 3D printer, high precision 3D printers, are able to print 0.6 millimeter sheets of wax and with success on the casting. But depending on the design that we are talking about. Okay, this is going to be my template. And you can do for giving thickness to this thing, you can go to dynamic subdivision, turn this on. If something weird is happening because we are subdividing the mesh, you change from 2 to 1 and you're going to start applying some thickness. Then this is virtual thickness, right? We are not applying real thickness. This is because if I turn this off, so the thickness disappears. This is just for, we are working now with a rendering mode. I like to use this mode because this is we are not adding more resolution or more geometry to the object. We are working under a rendering mode and makes things lighter to move and make things files lighter to save. It has many advantages. Also, we can play with the offset. We can send the thickness to the one side or to the other side or exactly in the middle. We'll stay in 0 here, and this could be very, very useful. Of course, if we try to measure the thickness, we're not going to be able to measure anything. If we go to Scale Master now, and we check the thickness is still 0. But what we can do with our transpose line, we can take the measuring from left to right, and this value, and now we have the thickness at its maximum value. We are having here my top left corner, I'm reading, we are having here 2 millimeter thickness piece, therefore having a reference. At this point, it's not going to be important to think about the thickness because I'm just using this as a template. Yes, and after that, so how can I make a UV raised about the surface on my mesh? I don't know what you mean, Russell Baker. How can I make a UV raised about? Could you write an example about what you need? Do I always hollow out your pendants? Yes, most of the time. We can say, depending on the metal that we are about to cast the design, of course, depending on the size of the pendant. Some pendants are very small, so it's not necessary to make them hollow. But I can say 90% of the cases they should be hollow inside. For example, when we are talking about pendants, for example, I take a value of 30 grams. Always 30 grams. We are talking about a heavy to wear piece. So try to stay below 30 grams always when you are making a pendant. Maybe 25 grams of silver, of course. If we are talking about 20 grams of gold, we are gonna have problems with the money, with the cost. But we talk about silver. Try to stay below 30 grams. 30 grams is very huge and bold piece of metal. Try to stay below 30 grams. I want you to have a nice, yeah, and you can use. Have you ever used Russell? Have you ever used the UV Master inside of ZBrush to create the UV coordinates? Because inside of ZBrush you can create your UVs and then apply a texture. So let's start working on the panther. Let's keep this as a reference. So it's easy. For example, I can show you one. If you go to my YouTube channel or to the Maxon ZBrush channel, when I gather at the end of each ZBrush live streaming, I add the streaming here in this list. For example, if we do everything, no, everything. I want to see the whole list here. For example, you can scroll down. For example, you try to find where is it? For example, this. It could be very useful for you, where you can find maybe not this video, maybe it's this one. This one. You can find an answer to that question. When I have this kind of a snake design, and I was creating the tileable pattern for the skin, and then inside of ZBrush as well, and I was creating the UV maps and applying the texture to the snake body. Maybe this will here you will find the answer to your question. Just for don't be having too much time. It's without starting working on the design of today. So, and here you have an example of for that, where you can apply different texture. For example, here on a snake, and I think if I remember well, here I have another example of that. The same, it's almost the same exercise, but here I was applying another kind of texture with also on a snake. So you will find here the whole process. How to create the tileable texture and how to apply it on a surface. Using the UV master and the process to apply the previous seamless image using the noise maker. And also here, maybe here on the dragon body. It's kind of dragon pendant body when I was creating the UV coordinates with the UV master and applying the image with the surface noise. But this, I think this will be helpful for you. That's the welcome again. You've been You can ask whatever you need. There's many things that you need, no problem. I want to create a skull pineapple ring I have seen on internet, but I am stuck in the pyramid-like surface on the face of a skull. It's going in different ways. Can you suggest something? Pyramid-like surface? Are you talking about the pineapple skin texture, right? I'm always use booleans. I think the light booleans is one of my favorite tools inside of ZBrush. It changed my life when they introduced it. Light boolean system. You and Harsh, you were saying about the pineapple skin. Are you talking about this kind of texture? It has kind of rhomboids shapes, or as you said, pyramid shape, and then how to apply it on the skull surface. And the skin is like a pyramid. Yeah, for example, I'm gonna come back again to the videos I was showing before in my YouTube channel. If I go here, like here, because you can see, you see this skin texture of this snake. This one, where is it? Here at the bottom. Here, you can see here the more or less. It's not, of course, probably is not exactly the same, but you can see the texture could be something similar about what we are talking about. And during this, maybe during this video, I was creating this kind of texture here, maybe somewhere. Yeah, here. I was creating this kind of tileable texture. So once you have the image, the tileable image or the seamless image, you can apply it on the skull using the UV map, and that's it. I was using this kind of many different. I was explaining how to create different kind of tileable textures with this plugin. This is a plugin. This is an external plugin that you should install if you want to follow this technique, which is called Nanotile Texture plugin. With this plugin, you're going to be able to create endless kind of textures and very easy to use. And you're going to be able to create your own pineapple pyramid texture. You're welcome. Perfect. Glad to be helpful. Okay, let's follow. Okay. If I miss, you have that plugin. I was looking. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. So you can review it again, and then you will find the answer to your question. And also you can create your own custom seamless images. This is very helpful process when you need to apply textures on a surface. Okay, so this is the image. So let's start creating for example, let's apply, I'm gonna use this, for example, without symmetry. I'm gonna start creating the body of the panther just with a cube, with a tube, I'm sorry, split mask points. This is gonna be my, so here I'm going to know how thick the pattern is going to be. At this point, during the sculpting or the creation process, I'm going to be more worried about the shapes, but at some point it's going to be necessary to start taking measurements on thicknesses. But at this point, it's going to be just necessary to check what I'm sculpting. Don't be very worried about how thick is this or how big is this. Let's turn on my back face and let's just start pushing. Of course, I am stretching a lot of the geometry. During the process, we can go to the series measure. We can tell to ZBrush I want to create a new mesh with the same amount of polygons. So you can start polishing, and then this could be your starting point. Oops. Okay, so let's this is going to be the chest. From this view, this needs to be maybe here, maybe here. What I want to do is, you were talking about before about booleans. Let's start making booleans. Let's insert the cube. Let's make it bigger. Just for cutting what is on the back of the pendant, I'm gonna use this. I like to change the topology of the cubes using the groups by normals. Once I have different polygroups applied to each face of the cube, you can go to series measure, keep the groups, give me a new topology with the double amount of polygons, and adapt the size to make it as more quad shaped as possible, like this. So now we have a more regular base, and then let's turn this on, and then let's start making booleans. So you can see that now we are creating a flat cut on the back. So we don't have to be worried about what happens before the surface. I'm going to use now, for example, insert primitives with a capsule to create this arm. I like to keep everything as individual parts. This should be behind the body, more or less here. We can make a duplicate or create another arm. It's going to be here. So don't make it too thick, because we are looking for create that kind of delicate more high jewelry looking design. This should be here on top, and we can select this one, the same, duplicating, and we can use this for the leg. Oh, it's more for the hip instead of the leg, more or less. What I can do is we can duplicate this, we can put it this way, and we can use this cube just for cutting what we don't want to see here, just for having the horizontal cut, and also making a duplicate and put it here. So we are putting this thing here. Okay, maybe we can change the opacity a little bit of the image. Let's decrease the opacity, and it's here. And now changing the topology, because the topology is not uniform enough. So let's make double. I use a lot the polishing. Same with this, double polishing. the same with this. And with the tail, let's use the curve tube snap as before. Smaller. Okay, it's if you don't like the curve, you can use the number 6 to relax the curve and update it. So you can split mask points, you can double polish, make it light, polish, and now we can just for start having our composition. So the tail should be thinner here, just for having the composition. Start having the composition for this thing should be on top. As we maybe here we are having a lot of thickness, maybe let's try to keep this here. And also what we can do, let's try to create a frame. Let's see if I can make it using the insert an H insert. This. The 2 points. Let's push them back. See how thin is this with the transpose? Here I have 1 millimeter. Okay, and at the thickest point here I have 1.8 millimeter. Yeah, looks has sense. If I put this, I think it's not good enough. Maybe let's see if I change. This is the good thing about working with low resolution mesh, when you can just moving the points. But I don't like that here. And this part should be fixed. And at this point, I'm going to be worried about because here this is around. If I take the measurement from left to right, 1.2 millimeter. Okay, it's good enough. And something like this, but again, it's going to be necessary to fix this to make it more regular as possible. But at this point is going to be enough. So let's duplicate this just for keeping the flat, not modified. I'm going to apply a new polygroup here, polygroup and polyloop here. And let's make a QMass to the polygroup. Tall is this? Again, we're gonna start taking measurements. Maybe 0.6 millimeter. Maybe it's very. Maybe we need to make it thicker. And now we know that everything that we are putting inside, we aren't gonna have enough space. Maybe this should be more something more or less like this. As a starting point, let's make a box of this is here we have 1.5 millimeter. Maybe we can make it taller till reaching around 2 millimeters. Let's grab onto this. Because inside we need to have enough space for having the panther the grass and the Giluch texture. Maybe at first point looks a little bit thick. Let's see. Maybe it still looks too thick, I think, in my opinion. Maybe probably the maximum thickness could be, we said before, around 1.5 millimeter. Let's stay here. Maybe during the process we can fix things. This thing should be here. Of course, you can see we are putting here too far away from the surface. This part needs to be more inside. And maybe probably, I think I made a mistake here because the tail is too close to the border. Maybe let's make more room between the tail and the border. Maybe something like this. So this maybe the body doesn't need to be so tall. And again, I want to apply a hammer text to a bangle. I use Voronoi in the noise surface. Yeah, it's very useful, but it's not matching enough. No, it's not a problem. I love. Let me save the file first. This is going to be the Panther pendant number 1. As more questions you make, I prefer to be here talking with you about your problems, about your questions. So the Voronoi, yeah, the thing is, but it's not matching enough. I think the only solution for that is to try to make it manually. For example, if the thing that you are having, we're talking about Voronoi, for example, if I grab a ring, make a poly mesh, let's subdivide the mesh, and if you go to surface, noise plug, Voronoi, okay, then you're gonna start adding strength to the texture, remove the basic noise, and this is what you are having. Maybe the thing that I recommend to you, if you can get into the edit mode here, editing, and you can start maybe changing this value, is having to use something closer or you are looking for, or maybe you can change the kind of Voronoi that you are applying. Maybe you can have this kind of different image textures with this, or what you can do is, let me come back to the first. Instead of apply the strength directly to the mesh, change your color for white to black, put your strength to 0, and maybe I need more polygons. Let me divide one more time, and then you can convert your noise into a mask, pass my noise. And now with the inflate brush, you can inflate it manually. So you can apply more strength at one point, less strength at another point, so you will get more organic or not more randomness to your surface. Or you can apply inside of the deformation, you can inflate the whole thing, more or negative, more or less. Maybe you are having better result about you are looking for, or if you are not able to achieve what you are looking for because the kind of the Voronoi that you are looking for is very specific and very precise, it's the only way is start making it manually. So with the H polish brush, you're gonna start hammering your surface one by one, like this. Still having, for example, more with small with big, small with big. So you will get maybe a closer finishing, make it manually instead of applying an mathematical process. The list is long, so shoot your question. So no problem. So I'm glad here uh, to I'm very happy here to be useful for you. And this is, in my opinion, makes the streaming talking about the things that you are interested on. So instead of me talking about what I want to talk, here also for help you, not for showing what I'm able to do. Let's come back to the original here. The, the I'm just now fix or matching things, or it's like creating a puzzle with different pieces, and you need to try to find the right interaction between each piece or getting what you are looking for. Okay. To think more about the frame, because I don't like having thinner surfaces here and thicker here. But as I said before, now it's gonna be, it's not important. But designing or creating something, during the process, it's gonna be necessary to change many things. Here, for example, I can use this brush to change the spin, polygons. So it's time to start using this brush. I like to call this brush the file, where you are able to start sending or removing material from the surface, having the same kind of feeling that you are having a file. You are sanding the surface, in this case getting flat surfaces. Working with the dynamics of the vision of light. That's the reason why I was having some kind of weird behavior on the surface. It was due to have the dynamic subdivision active. You need to sculpt the surface. It's not a good idea having the dynamic subdivision active. Something like this. Just with this brush, you are having the necessary different planes. As I said before, is that like using a file, you are removing material. Of course, when we're working with ZBrush, we never remove polygons or vertices, except that you are using Sculpting Pro. But here we are just pushing the vertices. Maybe here is going to be necessary to create a mask with mask lasso, because I'm having the hip on the wrong place. The hip is higher. This should be something around here, and I need to create a mask here because this needs to be under and this part needs to be on top. So more polygons. This. I prefer to use the smooth peaks now to avoid to destroy too much detail when I am smoothing the. And we can use now the pinch brush for having the spine here. Be very useful in this case, this brush. Like this, let's save. When we are using the pinch brush, we are stretching a lot of the geometry, so during the process, I recommend you can start pinching, keep pinching, or having the necessary folds or nerves, as I'm doing now. But at some point, it's gonna be necessary of change the topology, just for relaxing the topology. So now we keep increasing the topology because I have the double option active during the sculpting process, and this is, and the same thing here. And now with the pinch brush, we can start. Even we can apply more intensity. We have the tail a little bit twisted. This. So again, new topology. But the good thing about this, you can see that you are having a new topology, but you are keeping the forms you were creating before. Like this. Thema, awesome call. Thank you for a person to use. Bas relief. Do you mean about this option? object pass relief, according to this feature. But I never use this feature. I don't like it. I prefer, when I need to create reliefs, I prefer to sculpt them manually instead of creating them using from an alpha, or you are getting much better results and precise results using sculpting techniques instead of pushing a button. Or well, depending on the kind of relief that you are talking about, but from my experience, I have never used, maybe 1 or 2 times, the bas relief option. Okay, let's start creating the head. Let's grab a sphere. People. Okay, we got a lot of people. Thank you everybody for being here watching the stream. And let's create, when you are about to sculpt something, for example, I need to create the head. What I see in the head, can I paint here? Yeah. What I hear, I'm watching this one volume here. Maybe I'm having here another volume. Here another volume here. With the jaw, here another volume here. Of course the ear as another piece. And one more volume here. Maybe I'm watching something more or less like this. Here the neck is, we already have here the neck. So here we have another volume. So you need to try to split the forms into as many shapes as necessary for having the right planes. For example, here I'm watching here, we can have here a plane. Here, okay, we have an existing plane here, for example, something more like this. So let's see how we can achieve what I just draw with primitives. Give me, for example, a start from a sphere. Anyways, for keeping everything as individual parts, let's squeeze. Definitive. We can, and then with the H polish, with the file, we can start having something like this. And now we can have another sphere. For the main, for this, like this. Split, make a copy, send it to the back. Okay. Yeah, that's one. This is you already have the sculpted model and you just want. Yeah, but in my opinion, it still doesn't work. For example, when you are having an existing model, you can use this as an stamp, or you can create an alpha base from a model. But in terms of how clean the things comes out from the 3D printer or from the CNC machine, is not the same if you are stamping an alpha, like if you are sculpting the different volumes with the right levels between each volume. It's a completely different thing. Probably for rendering it will work, but I'm talking when I talk, and when I say my opinion, I'm always talking about manufacturing processes. I'm always thinking about the manufacturing process for having a good success on the printed piece or the casted piece. The called pineapple ring is talking about. Okay, I understood what you told me, but the skin is going in different sections. With if I try to find it on the internet, I'm gonna be able to find a picture. So you said before that it is an existing in the 16 design, right? If I go here, if I take pineapple ring, skull ring, this is what I get if I pineapple skull ring. I don't know. All of them looks like very simple. I think this is not the one that you are about to create, I'm sure. These ones are not a very good example. You also can, they are in 3 layers going from the shank towards the face. Well, I would need to see a picture, if possible. If you are able to attach a link on the chat, not the picture itself, just a link to the image, it will be very useful, just for trying to give you a good solution. Because also you can use nanomesh if necessary. I'm thinking about nanomesh. Reading what you just said about the different directions of the texture and things like that. Maybe it could be a combination of UV mapping and nanomesh, maybe. But I will need to have a reference image. Okay, perfect. If you are able to send the link, it will be great. Cube? No. I apply a cube here. If then I clip the cube in this direction. Yes, and double. Needs to be behind, and I can cut it and then smooth it. Maybe the neck here needs to be thicker. Maybe here for the jaw I can use this. I'm going to hide this. here with the cylinder of the noise on the nose. Pieces. And not very often. The only work I made about related to watches was making a custom case for an Apple Watch. But it is not the kind of commission that I receive. Most of the time is things related to pendants, rings, bracelets. And lately I received many commissions about sculpting reliefs for minting, for coins, and this kind of stuff. Coins, medals, things like that. Or reliefs that are going to be carved with this in the stone or wood. This is not very often. Very common to create things for. You can do it with ZBrush if you need to. Just having the necessary measurements, you can do almost everything. When you start working with or being specialized on something, and you start publishing your work, so people start ordering things related of you have been posting. That maybe probably that's the reason why I don't used to receive commissions about watches or clocks, because I never post or publish a work related of that. At this point, where I am now, we can start welding things together and start sculpting the surface. Here we are checking how thick is this. Here we have from the back till the highest point 4 millimeters. 4 millimeters. When I'm taking measurements or designing, always I have my caliper in my hand just for checking how big are the things that I am sculpting on the screen, just for checking they're too big or too small. Maybe 4 millimeter. Maybe we have more room. Maybe let's push it to the back for having more thickness, because they're going to be very thin. Try to stay closer to 5 millimeter. Highest point could reach even 6mm by 4mm, I think, in my opinion, is going to be very thin. We are having the structure of the head. Let's increase opacity. For clipping. Because I like to have angles on the profile. Art angles, I think it looks cool. I think it comes more from the Art Deco inspiration. Thank you very much, Trim Dynamic. I'm glad you like it. I've always enjoyed to sculpt panthers or animals, lions, the big cats, and things. No, it's not just a matter of having a good relationship between the different volumes. Of course, the eye is going to be necessary to sculpt because the eye is a very small element. I think the mouth is not in the right place. Yeah. Because it looks like he is smiling, and it goes more in this direction instead of in this direction. So, and the same with this. This needs to follow this line of the eye. Probably here. Here you can see here this piece is not reaching the back. Using the move infinitive with the back face, you can the same with this. The same with this. The same with the ear. So you just need to know that we have the complete profile here. Here we have the same problem here. And the same problem here. Something like this. And here probably we need to to the main forms has been blocked. So now for now we need a plane here. As before, I'm using like using the file brush or the sanding brush just for getting the planes. And this is more or less it. Most of the time I follow this process for blocking the main shapes with the primitives or with blocking the different volumes, but in other cases I sculpt more using a more traditional way, just carving the surface. It has there isn't a specific, maybe a specific rule or technique that works always for you, depending on the kind of thing that you need to create. Sometimes has more sense to use one method or one process. In other cases, it's better to use another one. Useful new feature that you can find inside. I think it comes from the 2024 version, maybe 2023, I'm not sure. This one, smooth groups. Well, you want to keep the shape as more original to the new mess. You want to keep the new mess as more closer to the original. This new feature, the smooth groups, is very useful. Okay, for the it's still a lot to work, but we are being closer and closer. It's just a matter of time. Let's put a new plane here. I have a problem here with the shoulder to be cuts here. Okay, no more questions? No. Okay, I can keep working. Okay, the body looks strange here because, but this part is going to be hidden, so I don't very worried about this. And all the like it's still smiling. I don't know why. Maybe need to put it more angry, more serious. Just changing this. Probably now it's better. Maybe the eye is going to add the final personality. We have the eye. Something that still doesn't work on the head, but I'm not sure what it is. But let's see if I'm able to find it. Yes, you can. I can share my interface, of course. Let me save this first. Here. If you want to use my interface, you can go. Okay, again, I have to say here in the here my link tree. I'm gonna show it. This one. It is link like linktr.ee/Nacho Riesco. Here you will find my website. You go to my website, you click on resources. Here you will find many resources at the bottom. Scrolling down here, you will be able to download my custom interface. So just as easy as going to my link tree or going to my website. My website is nachoriesco.com. So under the resources sections, scrolling down, and here you will find my custom user interface. Why not just create and duplicate of the frame, scale it internally, and boolean it to get a smooth tapered border. Frame. What do you mean with the frame? With this? Is too high. Maybe I think the problem I having is the eye is not in the right position, right? Yes, here. Oh my god. So I have found the problem here on the face. Here my eye is here and the reference eye is much more at the bottom. So you were saying something about the frame. You were talking about this. I'm just using the frame just for having a reference. This is not the definitive frame. It's just for knowing that the panther or the elements that I'm going to sculpt, they are not going to be too thick or they are not going to have a lot of volume or having a very thick piece, but you were suggesting duplicate of the frame, scale it internally, and boolean to get the smooth chamfer. Yeah, you can create many. For that, we still need to have a lot of things to create chamfers, to create the right frame, because at this moment the frame shape is not right. You can see here it's thinner on the corners, it's thicker on the sides, on the top, on the bottom. I don't care. At this point, I'm not worried about the frame. I'm just made this provisional frame just for knowing that for having this as a reference of the elements that I am sculpting. Yeah, of course I can. I'm gonna share my link tree here. Good idea. I just, I mean that at this moment I'm don't worry about the how precise the frame is now. Yeah, sometimes you are making something wrong and you're not able to see it. So because you are obsessed about what you are doing, you are thinking that you are making things right, so you are going on the right way, but uh, it's sometimes it's as easy as to make a small movements or fix small little things and things are ready. But the problem is find the problem. Even having a reference on the back, as I was having. Nice. Things start changing now. The finish for today. To all of you who have been watching me working today, thank you everybody very much, of course, to all of you who are going to watch this video once finish it. I will be here next month working on this design. At the beginning of the streaming, the idea is to create the whole design during the different streamings, till having a ready for production piece of jewelry. Sometimes during my free times I make some progress just to don't be making the same thing during the whole streaming, so giving different techniques as many as possible. Don't worry, because I will explain almost everything what I did, even if it's not on the in the live session. Much better than before. for the necklace, and this is going to be the last thing for today. Let's make it this thing a little bit longer, like this. Okay. I still need to work a little bit more on the body. I will try to have the body of the panther finished for the next streaming, so we can start working on different element. But for the necklace, for the collar or the collar, I love to use this brush, when you can start painting curves. This. Extremely useful for creating straps or topology like this, crossing the lines. And when you tap, so you are having a new piece of geometry. So okay, let's stop here. This is what we have so far. Hope to see you here in the next month. Following this design. So let me close this, let me put this here. Here, let's say, keep it safe. Let's save and just for being here. Scotland, thank you very much. Dexter, beautiful and sophisticated sounds always. In my warm look. Yeah, I try to. Thanks, Baxter, for being here and comment. Everything goes right. We'll meet again at your workshop. Yeah. Yeah, we'll be giving a workshop in Spanish the Monday 27th of May. You will find the information of on my links. So okay, so thanks to everybody to having here watching the streaming. Hope you like what I did so far. I will wake you here in the next month talking more about ZBrush and jewelry, and see you soon. So take care and thanks to everybody. Bye.